This is a salon owner coming to our sales meeting. Owner, and not just a salon owner, a 32 salon owner.
Yeah, open as of last week, that's right.
Yeah. This is Haynes Chidsey. Try that. One and one. How the hell did you get that name?
I have to ask my parents that one.
Holy cow. Haynes owns 32 Sola salons in the Southeast. He's out of Charlotte, North Carolina, but he has quite a few in Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina. And he's come to some of the distributors that he feels help his salons grow and help his people become better. And they want to have relationships with us, and so far so good. You know, you'll go through your presentation, but I'll just have to say, you know, when we have programs that he feels like will help his group, he'll put them on his web pages, and you'll see all that. But so go ahead and get started.
But I already have questions. You said 32. Does that mean 32 locations or 32 studios?
Well, we actually have just over 300 across the country.
When you say 300, so you have.
I'll put that in context. There's 7,000 stylists in the Sola Center.
See, that's why I asked. Did you hear that?
Yeah, all of a sudden
That's
he's
a lot.
licking his chops.
It's a lot of stylists.
You're not allowed to talk.
No, yeah, but it's a huge opportunity.
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry. Thank you.
7,000 stylists is a lot of people.
How many are there worldwide? Nationwide?
That's in 41 states.
I mean, how many stylists nationwide?
7,000.
Here we go.
Across
Do that, but I mean.
No, that's a more
honest.
honest.
Okay.
My locations have just over 700 of those.
Nothing wrong with
Is
that.
that right?
Yeah. So anyway, Pete, thank you for letting us be here today. It does sound like it's a little unusual. And I'm not really here to talk up the business from my perspective. What I'm really here to do is make sure that we give you good information on Sola Salons and the salon studio concept and the things that we're trying to do with you and for you in order to make our stylists more successful. That really is our mission. Obviously, there's a benefit to us indirectly that the more successful they are, the longer they're likely to be with us, and the more likely they are to refer a friend or a family member or someone they know from beauty school. But the most important thing to us is trying to get the industry to be more and more successful, and we really view ourselves as the facilitator in the relationship between you and our stylist. And so in some ways we are complicating the relationship by making it a three-way relationship. On the other hand, I think we can break down some of the barriers and increase the efficiency and the effectiveness with your interaction with the stylist. If you aren't familiar with Sola Salons, we're 11 years old. We have just over 300 locations in 41 states. And why this is particularly important to me is while Florida is an awfully big state, I think it's the third largest in the country now. We have been a little bit slow getting into Florida just in the last 3 or 4 years with any size. We have over 60 locations in California. I think we have over 40 in Texas now. So we're excited about getting our growth up to par, so to speak, in Florida. We are adding about 65 locations a year, which means we're adding somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 stylists a year to our system. We are the largest in the industry, as you probably know. There are about a half a dozen brands out there in the salon studio part of the market, and Florida is certainly one of the more developed markets, and we look forward, like I say, to having our brand really become more recognized and more developed in Florida. And I'll touch on that in just a second. So in Florida, we now have 19 locations across the state. You will definitely see us add 7 to 10 a year, I think is a pretty good number, maybe a little more. We are a franchise system, and I'll get to that in just a minute. And as you probably know what that means, we do operate a little bit differently than most of our competitors. We franchise by large territories, not by single locations. So the good news is you really only have to get to know 6 or 7 people in the state of Florida, and you'll know all of us versus individual location operators. As you can see, we're pretty well covered in the big cities in Florida. The blue dots represent the markets where locations are. I am the largest franchisee in the system, which is sort of how I leverage my way to get in here, is being able to represent the story. I'm the original franchisee in the system from 10.5 years ago, and I'm the largest, so I know the story reasonably well.
And you have the rights to Florida?
So good question. So I have Tampa, Orlando, and Jacksonville as my Florida markets.
Good markets.
Well, I grew up in Sarasota, and I took the parts of Florida that I knew. Southeast Florida is a little too far for me.
Yeah.
We have some great operators down there. So we have divided up. We have an operator in Dade County, an operator for Broward County, and then our Palm Beach operator takes up to Daytona, and then I pick up from Daytona up to Jacksonville. So there are really 4 of us that cover most of the state.
I think I was under the impression Salon Lofts is the biggest now. Is that a
We
misconception?
are about 4 times larger than Salon Lofts.
Kidding.
I just wanted to put up this collage just to make a couple of comments. I think just from a philosophical standpoint, our business is about business owners. Our goal is to recruit the best stylists we possibly can in each market. While they are obviously renting these studios from us, that's not our philosophy or our mantra. We are looking for stylists who want to own and operate her own business, develop her brand, build her business in the way that works for her. I think there are some other concepts, other competitors out there that are more rental driven. They're allowing sharing of studios. They're really relying on the brand name of the franchise system. That's not what we're about. The stylist is always front and center. We want her brand name to be out there. We want to know what her business plan is and what motivates her definition of success. And so we think as time goes by, that's something we'd love to hear back from you, that you're starting to see that the best stylists in the market are with us or gravitating toward us, the most professional, the most interested in education, the most interested in having a relationship with you.
I just want to get your take on something, because from your perspective and from our perspective, your concept is taking over. It's relatively new, but it's taking over.
Yeah.
My question to you is this: do you guys have any plan whatsoever to help the young stylists coming out of school who do not have a clientele and do not know where to go work because they don't have that clientele? They can't come to your place.
Yep.
What do we do about those people?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think the business, you're right, our concept is fairly new. Sola's, I think, right at 11 years old in August. But the dynamic you just referred to, I think, has fundamentally changed just in the last 4 years or so, and that really is the advent of social media that's open and available and easy for everyone to use. When we started the business, there was really nothing we could do for that stylist. You needed to go to a traditional salon, learn the trade, and at some point join us. Today, we are taking more and more chances with that young stylist. We have plenty of stylists today coming right out of school. Now, we're being very selective in the ones we take. We do. They need to be ambitious and hardworking.
We had one in Fort Myers at the Scruples show. She goes, I'm going into Sola. I'm just getting out of school next week, and she set herself up with a blazing haired kid. And it was a perfect show for her because David does a great job teaching them how to utilize.
Let me be fair though, it is still the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
It is not a core percentage or big percentage, but I guess where I'm going with it is whether they're right out of school or maybe even just 2 or 3 years out of school, it is remarkable to us with a focused business plan, primarily around social media, because it's the way the younger generation communicates, number one, and number two, it's inexpensive. 6, 7 years ago, the only thing you could do was encourage a stylist to do postcards, print business cards, print flyers. They're all really expensive. So we've been amazed at what young stylists can do today within 12 or 18 months building a full book.
Well, I mean, what I've seen so far is we're losing a lot of stylists who go to school, spend a bunch of money, and can't build their clientele quick enough.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on some of the things we
Okay.
are specifically doing to help them do it. It's not just, come pay us weekly rent and set up a Facebook page, we have some core programs, and we're calling it business education versus yours being professional education to help them do that.
If you hit on that and
Yeah.
help the kids coming, I'm telling you, you'll set yourself
My
apart.
last 10 slides, which we're gonna go through quickly, is exactly what you're talking about and why we wanna make sure you understand what we're trying to do to get all this to work a little better. And again, to your point, I wanted to just touch on a few things on who our stylists are, talking about professionalism and career-oriented stylists, but we do have a really wide range. It can be that stylist in her 20s, you know, through a stylist who is working 3 or 4 more years before retirement. And probably the most interesting thing to me is roughly 20% of the stylists at Sola are former salon owners, who for a whole variety of reasons have decided that this model fits better for them. So there's a good range of sophistication, and what it really boils down to is every stylist has her own definition of success, and it's important for us to figure out what that means to her and begin finding ways to support that definition. For our stylists, I think, again, contrasting with some of the others in the market, is they really value ownership. It would never cross their mind to share their studio, to have somebody dictating what days they can work, what tools they share, what the decor is going to be in their studio. They may only work 2 days a week, as you know, there are plenty that do, but it's their space, it's their business, it's there when they're ready, or vice versa if they want to work 6 days a week. All right, so again, we view our role as being a facilitator. We are not naive to the challenges of working with the salon studio concept, and I'm sure you'll bring some of them up as we go through this. It's not easy to walk into our space. We don't have a receptionist at the front. Sometimes the sliding glass doors are closed, sometimes they're not, and obviously the big one is we don't control their schedule. You can come in and half the people are there and half aren't, and how do you make it a more productive visit? A number of those things we can help with, and some of those we're still trying to figure out, to be perfectly honest. But you need to realize the Sola operator, the owner of that operation, or in my case, the general managers that run them for me, we want you to feel welcome in our locations, and we know how much value you can bring to our stylists. We are not stylists, we're never going to be stylists, and we're not experts at this industry. What we want to do is be a general conduit for bringing the best things we can to our stylists, whether that's technology, marketing, educators, access to good events and hair shows. So really think of us as a gatekeeper or a good housekeeping seal of approval. That's what the stylists look to us to do. We know our stylists extremely well. Our goal is to have a personal relationship with every one of them. What lines are they interested in? Are they ready to switch lines? Are they still interested in learning, or are they kind of topped off? Are they working 2 days a week or 6 days a week? We can help you break down those barriers and get to know our stylist. So don't feel like calling us 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Emails are an inconvenience. I'm surprised when I get that feedback, because it's our job to help you help them. That's the number one way we can help our stylist, is build a relationship with the sales consultant. So let us help you get going with that. We think what you bring to the table is incredibly valuable to our stylist. You know, we think there's a lot more opportunity here for you with our stylist. And what we see are a lot of general comments. These probably won't be too surprising to you, but it isn't just, I need to order product. We think there's a fundamental shift occurring alongside the growth in the salon studio business, is truly being a consultant, not just an order taker. And I'm sure you all spend a lot of time on this. But our stylists need what you can bring to the table. But I do truly believe it's about being a consultant. What are the seasonal promotions they need to be doing? How do they sell retail? What's the right way to go about raising prices? What's the right way for me to think about my $2,000 a year budget to go to hair shows and education classes. These are the things that we think you can help them do, frankly, better than we're able to do it, and why we want to promote this relationship. So these are, when we do surveys, which we do about every 8 weeks with our stylists around the country, these are typically the comments that we're getting back. These are the things I'm interested in learning how to do. What are we doing to help you develop those relationships with our stylists? And I know this is a little hard to read from the back, but let me ask you a couple of quick questions. How many of you know that we offer the stylist a retail move-in package? Excellent.
I've
That's
heard
good.
that. Is that the $500?
That's
Yeah.
the $500. So
Yeah.
we're not in your market yet, we're coming. But our belief is helping these stylists develop a second revenue stream is critical to their long-term success. They can make more money, get more tied into their customers, and ultimately it makes them a better tenant, to use a crass term with us, if they're generating more revenue. In a traditional salon, at least from our experience, they might be making a 5 or 10% commission, and more than likely, someone at the front desk is actually processing the sale of the retail. So there's a bit of an education or transition that needs to happen. So we're giving the stylist, it varies in each market, it's $400 to $500. In mine, it's $500 retail move-in package. So we want to connect that stylist when she signs up with us, with you, and have her go shopping. Now, she is a free agent when she moves in, so if she's coming out of a Beta salon or a Paul Mitchell salon or whatever, that's one of the first questions we get is, well, I've been thinking about making a change, what should I do? Well, we're going to ask her a few questions, are you high end, are you doing a lot of blowouts or whatever, but the most important thing for us is to get them connected with someone like you, and for us to step back because we're not the experts. So the move-in package, I think, is pretty unique to Sola. I'm not aware of any of our competitors that are doing it. The second, are you familiar with our startup manual? So right now, we like to reinforce our communication in print as well as digital, and we'll talk about those in just a second. But we have a very intensive onboarding process getting a stylist ready to join Sola. It's about 13 tabs and a 3-ring binder. Takes her through all the things she needs to do to become a business owner. How do I register my brand name? How do I get liability insurance? Should I be doing Facebook? How do I get my business license and pay sales taxes? As you get toward the back of that, it shifts to marketing, and that's where we want to have you profiled in our startup manual.
Do you want a bone? Do you want a bone?